Well, a hearty shalom to all of you. Jeffrey Seif here, and thanks for being here. I am pleased to come to you representing the Messianic Jewish Family Bible Society and the Tree of Life version of the Bible, which I am so pleased to not only use myself, but to give away. I just left a meeting, a guy who I had known for years who teaches Sunday school at First Baptist Church at Duncanville, and he has such a Caesar Segunda has such a love for the Lord and a love for the Jewish roots of the faith. It was so noticeable in his congregation. Someone gifted him with a free trip to Israel. And of course, he really is a happy camper, as you might well imagine. I was pleased to do an add-on to that, and I went and gave him a copy of the Tree of Life version of the Bible. We have different kinds out there. I gave him the nice green leatherette bound one with the illustrations in it because it is so much the work product of the art and intellect of the Messianic Jewish community. It not only presents the Bible the way we see it with Jewish eyes, but it introduces the Bible from Jewish perspectives. And I think it gives a lens that wouldn't otherwise be there, and I knew that he would so cherish it. In fact, he said as much, and I knew it beforehand, and I was so pleased to give it. If you're looking to give some gifts, let me tell you that the gift of a Bible is a great gift to give across generations, to give friends, children, and I want to encourage you to do that. Of course, if you opt to secure one of ours, then it blesses and keeps the Messianic Jewish Family Bible Society afloat, and so I want to do that. Well, here we are in the book of Exodus. Parashat Bo is very, very interesting. There's a lot of plagues here. Sometimes the way people change what they're doing is through affliction. They just get tired of fighting God, and you get on the right side of history, the right side of the momentum here. And as it was, various plagues befell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, as Bible readers know, the last of which was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. He said, enough already. In the 12th chapter, the Israelites are beckoned to get a lamb that was spotless and take it in verse 5. It has to be without blemish and a male, we're told. In verse 6, you shall keep it for a few days. In verse 7, you shall take it, slay it, and take the blood of that lamb and apply it to the doorposts of the house, those wooden beams, and sprinkling the blood, smearing the blood of that spotless lamb on those wooden cross beams is going to facilitate a kind of security and safety and ultimate redemption for individual households and the people collectively. It's a fascinating story. It's a fascinating typology, and it really provides an opportunity to preach the gospel. When one thinks that the principal salvific event in the Hebrew Bible is facilitated by a spotless lamb being taken, the blood of that lamb being applied on the wood, and that facilitates the great redemption. I mean, the implications of that are profound, and that's particularly so if you look at it through the lens of the New Testament, where the literature is very explicit in connecting Yeshua's death to Pesach, to Passover, the Last Supper, in effect, being associated with the very famous, oft-celebrated Jewish Passover celebration. The Last Supper was just that. Jesus was a Jew. The disciples were Jewish, and you have a story here of Yeshua, according to the Gospels, being executed in proximity to the Passover. He carries the wood, and the blood is then, in effect, smeared on the wood, and that facilitates the great redemption right there at Passover. Same way, same day. It really is a fascinating story, and for my money, like so much else in the New Testament that has its roots in Jewish soil, sediment, and sentiment, it is so oft overlooked. There's another story here that I want to relight upon, and you might know it if you celebrate the Passover with a Jewish family, if you are Jewish or if you've attended one. It's not at all uncommon for the principal male, the alpha male who officiates the ceremony, to dress up like a priest. And he does this. He might not be from the tribe of Levi, but he will wear the mitre and the white robe as a priest would wear back in the Levitical days. And he does that in effect to accentuate that for this night anyways, he's the priest of his household. And I mention that here because when you look at the story of the Passover, the man takes a lamb into his house, he slaughters it, he applies the blood on the house, and then eats the offering. That's what priests did in the temple. This has given rise to a perspective amongst Jews where every man is a priest of his own house. The house, in effect, is construed as a mizbeach. It's an altar. Not only is the ultimate sacrifice being initiated here in the book of Exodus, in a house, to bring about redemption for those in the house. It's not only there, played out literally, but in some sense, never mind materially, but spiritually, for that business to be transacted in homes across the world today wouldn't be a bad idea to bring the lamb in. A lot of times the Lamb of God, the sacrifice, the significance is spoken about in another house of worship on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning somewhere else, but it's not brought into the house. The redemptive business isn't conducted there. Rather, people in the house leave it up to the professionals to do it. Well, if you know anything about the Messianic Jewish Family Bible Society, we're about bringing it home, gathering the family around the Word and looking to cultivate family. And it's worth saying, as we're looking at Parashat Bo, as we're looking at this story, because while there's a national redemption at play, it was played out house by house. And if it wasn't played out in the house, then they weren't going. Someone wasn't going on the journey because the death angel was entering in and destroying. And there's the story here of the priest, the male, staving off death by attending to God's will, ways, and word in his own home. And let me give you that brief exhortation here. The reason why I say brief is it's my job principally not to offer a full telling of everything in a Torah portion, but I'm given the opportunity to alight upon something. And here I want to light upon the individual responsibility of the males of the household to be the priest of the household, to bring the blood in, to bring the lamb in, to take pains to ensure that for as much as you can utilize your influence, make sure everybody eats some of the lamb. And I think the world would be a better place, never mind the faith families, if the males of the species would rise up and be the priest of the sort that's noted here in the book of Exodus. Well, it's a great story. It's a great story about the blood. It's a great opportunity to preach the gospel here. If you're at a place in your life where you've gotten the better of sin, where sin and circumstances have gotten the better of you, I want you to know that there's a turnaround at play, and there's power, wonder-working power in the blood. I see it in the New Testament. I see it in the Old Testament. I want to see it at play in your life and circumstance. Jeffrey Seif here for the Messianic Jewish Family Bible Society. Till next week, God bless.